Namaste, friends and family, Venus lovers, soul tribe, beautiful souls. Welcome back to my channel. This is Dr. Danny, physician astrologer. I'm going to talk to you about Venus moving through Leo over the next 5 weeks, starting on the 23rd of July and going all the way till about the end of August. Venus in Leo is such an amazing energy. It is literally the light of the heart. For those of you that have not seen any of my Venus presentations before, real briefly, Venus is, if you think of the sun as your outward expression, Venus is the next brightest object in the sky, and she is our inner divine creative light that rises from the earth and is expressed through our physical senses. Venus attains enlightenment and wisdom by experiencing through the senses, not just the body and the physical senses, but also the spiritual, the emotional, and the more subtle sensations as well. So before I get started on this, I want to make a couple of announcements. I just got off of our first Q&A with the Business and Financial Astrology course. What a great group. I'm so excited. We have some really brilliant minds getting on board to constellational astrology, which is the type of astrology that we do here. Okay, so when you look at my charts, they might look a little different than tropical charts, but stick with me because once you go constellational, I've never seen anyone go back to tropical. So hang in there with me and we'll go through all of this. So if you still want to enjoy that course, the Business and Financial Astrology course, you will not be participating in the lives for this course, but you can still get it. The next live is on the 8th. So I'm not really pushing that course too much, but what a great course. Oh my goodness. So that will be after the 8th of August. It will be available for everyone to purchase and download if they want to. The question and answer are part of the launch group. However, since that's part of summer session 1, we do have summer session 2 coming. That is going to start in August, on the 8th of August, actually. And my dear friend and colleague, Don Bird, will be teaching us about the lunar nodes. This will be so comprehensive and complete, you will never have a doubt as to what the lunar nodes mean in another person's chart ever again. It is so incredible. I'm so excited. He will also have a live component to his course, as well as recorded video modules. So please stay tuned for links coming out about that probably this week. Okay, so I'm so excited about that. And then finally, if you guys are interested in a Venus-centered reading, or you are interested in a purpose and prosperity reading, you want to dive into your Pluto information, I have all those readings listed below. So go ahead and check those out, read about them, so you can get an idea of what kind of readings we're working with right now with the current energies. Okay, that's all I have for you. So Venus in Leo. Last year, when I reviewed Venus and Leo, there were some interesting interplays between the Sun and Mercury and Venus, and she also went retrograde through Leo last summer. This year, she's not. She will not go retrograde until she enters into Pisces in early of 2025. So we're still at the very beginning of her evening star phase. You can't see her yet in the sky unless you've got a really clear evening and you don't have any haze in the sky, absolutely no clouds, because she's just peeking above the sun. We'll look at the sky real quick so you guys can see what that looks like. But in a few weeks, right at sunset, we'll be able to see Venus, the evening star in the west as the sun is setting. So that is just a magnificent sight. It's my favorite Venus phase. So I'm looking forward to that. In Leo, this is the joy of creation. This Venus energy creates for joy and is aroused by the generosity of others. There's a passionate and affectionate energy here that's also fierce, protective, loyal, a leadership energy that leads by example. Venus is never a malefic planet in your astrology, but she can be blocked. And so if the full expression of Venus is blocked in Leo, it might manifest as energy that is angry when others cannot see the true light. And so we have to ask ourselves through these transits, as Venus is moving through the stars of Leo the Lion, what are we creating? How are we creating ourselves? The fullest expression of ourselves. What are we doing? It's our choice. There's some tough energies that might block Venus this transit as well. There's 2 T-squares that we have to grapple with. The first one is in the first week of the transit. The second one is a few weeks later. Also during this transit is my solar return, the big 5-0. I'm so excited. An amazing milestone. I'm so grateful to have been around this long, and I hope I can stay for at least another 50 to enjoy this existence. So that's pretty cool. There's also an eclipse point coming, and we're going to talk about 2 moon phases while we're doing this transit. So I'm excited to have you all here and to understand Venus energy. I have my typical calendar. I've got the chart we're going to look at, but I want to look at the sky first because I think when we're doing astrology based on astronomy, that's where we start. What's the sky doing? And I even like to zoom out and look at the entire solar system. So here we are. This is a bird's eye view of the solar system. Here we are on this tiny blue dot, planet Earth. And if you zoom in a little bit, you can see how cozy we all are here in the inner solar system. And then as we get past the asteroid belt, it just gets vaster and vaster. And you can't even tell which planet's Earth when you think about the whole solar system. But let's get into it. So from Earth's perspective, there's Venus, the baby evening star. Mercury is just 2 weeks away from beginning a retrograde transit. Notice that it is coming around to our side of the sky. If we look at Mars and Jupiter, from this perspective, we can see Mars and Uranus conjunct. And there's Jupiter in Taurus. You can even see the Pleiades over there. See that? So let's go through this transit. It goes all the way to August 24th. So let's just move the dates forward. You can see how Venus, Mercury, and the other planets move. This is when Mercury enters retrograde right here on the 1st or 2nd of August, right around here. Actually, it's the 3rd, sorry. And we're going to go all the way to the 23rd. So that whole time frame spans the Venus transit. And here you can see back here we have Neptune and Saturn in retrograde. Notice how they're on our side of the solar system. I always talk to you guys about retrograde planets, how they're on our side. So it's much more powerful energy. You don't have the sun in the way. The sun is actually much bigger than what it's representing here, but if it was actually its true size, then it would be very, very bright and hard to see. So that's the transit. If we look in the actual sky, here we can see Venus just exiting the stars of Cancer and entering into the stars of Leo. Mercury just entered the stars of Leo. The sun is still in Cancer. So let's fast forward this a little bit. Let me zoom so you can see it. We're just going to go through the days and watch Venus move. And you'll be able to see Mercury take its retrograde motion. So here we go. See it? See it's turning? It's coming towards us now. Venus full on in Leo. That's my birthday. Oh my gosh. And as we get to the 23rd of August, Venus is now entering the stars of Virgo, and the sun is full on in Leo. Okay? So that's what we're going to be looking at. We're going to look at the aspects to Venus. If you do a Venus-centered natal reading, what you do is we take Venus in the sky and we aspect her back to all of your planets. So it's not just Venus we're looking at. We're looking at Venus in aspect to your Mars, Venus in aspect to your nodes, all of that. So we look at what the current Venus is doing. And then we also look at what the other planets are doing to your natal Venus. So it's a really nice, thorough reading, especially if you're connected to and consciously following Venus cycles. Really, really good reading. Okay. I think that's all the sky that I wanted to show you. Let's look at it on a chart. Let's move the wheel around and see what this actually looks like. So here is the astrological chart. And this is what I was talking about, how my chart will look a little different. If you're not practicing constellational astrology, you have equal-sized signs, whereas in constellational astrology, the constellations are all different sizes. So this program allows you to look at the sizes of the constellations in the actual sky, where they are. So this is just a wonderful type of astrology and takes out a whole other layer of interpretation. So here we are on the day before Venus enters into Leo. Here you can see Mercury in Cancer, Mercury in Leo, Sun in Cancer, Mars separating from Uranus, conjunct the Pleiades, approaching Jupiter. Mars will make a conjunction with Jupiter during this transit. Saturn and Jupiter are going to square on each other this transit, and Chiron is going to go retrograde as well. So there's lots of tough aspects going on, and we'll get into all of them. Let's go through the days here and see what this looks like. So there it is, first day into Leo, and we're moving through. And Mercury will be going retrograde here soon. That'll be the next big event. Right about here. Yep. On my birthday, there it is. The very next day, or the day before, we had a new moon. So I get a birthday, I get a new moon, and we have Mercury stationing retrograde that day. And then Jupiter and Mars are actually conjunct. So we're going through. Mercury and Venus do a conjunction, which is always nice. And then there we have it. You can see some of these T-squares. Okay, cool. One more thing I just wanted to point out. On the 2nd, 3rd, and 4th of August, there is this Yod in the sky that, there it is, you can see it right here. The finger of God or finger of fate. And it is Mercury, Venus in quincunx to both Saturn and to Neptune and Pluto, which are in a sextile. This is a very long-lasting sextile. It's been around for decades and will continue to be around. But to have this point right here, as it stations retrograde, as Venus crosses the star Regulus, there's this Yod here, and it's on my birthday, which I think is very interesting. So we'll dive into that as well. All right, guys, cool. So that's the sky, and I think you're going to be really proud of me. I made a neater looking calendar. I'm going through this phase here where I want to try to make everything as easy and as nice looking for you guys as possible. How can I make myself better? How can I present myself better? So I created this. Hopefully this is easier to look at. This is not two separate months. This is literally just Venus's time in Leo. Okay, from this black line to this black line. And I'm using smaller markers now too. So hopefully you're able to, see this better. Like that big, there we go. So you can see the actual transits a little bit better. So what we'll do before we dive into these T-squares that I wanted to talk about is we'll start back here before Venus enters into Leo, and we'll talk about what we're coming into this particular constellational energy with. Like, what aspects is she making as we're entering into it, and what else is the sky doing? So I've highlighted some interesting points that are also helpful in understanding the entire Venus energy. Okay, so the first one that I want to mention, there's two actually that are going on right now before we enter into Leo with Venus. The first one is Venus trining on the north node and sextiling the south node. This is so important because this full moon that's coming up before Venus, or the one that we had, well, actually, you're probably going to get this video on Monday, so it would have been yesterday. So the full moon that we had yesterday was very powerful, very strong, purging energy. I wouldn't be surprised if there were any big crazy events associated with it. Today is Saturday when I'm recording this, so I'm not sure. We'll have to see. Sometimes I surprise myself when I do the videos a little early and then events happen. So that full moon, I wonder how that went for you. I did do a video on that as well called We Are Not in Kansas Anymore, because the world is so crazy. But this is nice energy to focus on, this Venus trining on the north node and sextile on the south node. It's a nice, if you can unblock that creative Venus energy and focus on your personal destiny, then you're necessarily helping the collective evolve as well. Okay, so Venus will be in Cancer at this point, but sextiling onto the south node in Virgo and then trining onto the north node in Pisces. So remember that nodal axis that we always talk about. And I'll dive into that if I need to open a chart in the middle of this. But the other aspect that's really nice is Venus sextiling onto Jupiter. And that starts on Friday the 19th and goes all the way to the 24th. So we get that for 2 days while Venus is in Leo. And this energy is just a beautiful, fertile, generous, abundant energy there's a grace and an expression here that's magnetizing, and it's full of complete trust. It's absolutely the opposite of what we're feeling out in the collective, okay? So if you've got the ability to maybe really tap into the energy that is Venus inside of you, inside of your soul, this might be a much easier full moon energy. The whole next few months might be easier to tap into if you just kind of consciously work with Venus. The universe is going to provide potential for you with Jupiter here. There could potentially, as Venus moves into Leo, being a craving of attention and a potential to exhibit wastefulness or greed, because sextiles are an opportunity. So it doesn't have a polarity necessarily. It's just an opportunity to use both polarities of both luminaries at the same time. It's an opening. So the strength of this energy is going to be joyful, abundant, generous, optimistic, the ability to expand into creation. There's a devotion that arouses your creativity. So when there's something bigger than yourself that you can just sort of have faith and devotion in, then the creative juices start to flow a little bit better. The block here can manifest as a pulling inward, a celibacy, inappropriate boundaries, and potentially a lack of discipline and a clinging energy. Okay, so that's the sextile with Jupiter as we come into this. Now, the very day that Venus enters Leo, Pluto and Sun are going to perfect their opposition. Put it as a conjunction, but it's an opposition. So this is perfecting on the same day. This is just powerful purging energy. So anything that's not serving you, you're entering into a Plutonian transit. And Pluto is so incredibly authentic and real and deep and powerful that if there's any hesitancy, if there's any inauthenticity, it will destroy it. And it usually does it in a very painful way. So there's some nice parts to these transits, but there's also some stuff out there that's pretty heavy and pretty deep. So try to focus consciously on the creative energy of Venus, the goddess energy, and she works very nicely with the purging energy as well, because she does better when she's in a flow state, constantly creating, constantly destroying. That creative flow state, it's a cycle. So she does a lot better when she's doing that, and will work with Pluto very well if there's no blocks to that energy. So that's what we're walking in with. Now, the next transit that actually starts with Venus in Leo is going to be her trine to retrograde Chiron. Chiron goes retrograde on the same day that she makes the trine with Chiron. So we have to talk a little bit about retrograde energy. As you saw in the solar system, retrograde planets are all on our side of the solar system, meaning that their energy is much, much stronger. So that healing potential of Chiron, that optimism energy, that luck energy of Chiron is very much available in this very nice trine energy. Because remember, you've got Venus who's just hot to create right now. And then a retrograde Chiron helps us look at ourselves and appreciate all the healing that we've been through, all the integrating that we've done, and say, yes, I've done that. Look how far I've come. Now, what is next? How and what can I create? So it's definitely a chance to this whole trine, which will go from the 25th all the way until the 4th of August, is a chance to look back at the healing journey, how far you've come, look at what you've done, and really have faith that Spirit has a plan for you and for all of us. The ability to live in compassion and love and trust is really all here with this trine. So this is very, very nice. After this full moon, there's going to be a nice downtime, a very powerful time of purging and reassessing and being just in awe and in love with our own healing journey. Now, there's a big energy that's in the middle of all this too. Okay, that does not really include Venus, but she does aspect to it at certain points, is this Jupiter square to Saturn. This is perfecting on the same day that Venus and Chiron make their aspect. So Saturn is in Aquarius right now, in retrograde, right between Aquarius and Pisces. This is a solitary, authoritarian type of energy. There's a loneliness here that can be a fear of being alone with the self. But ultimately, Saturn in Aquarius tries to be the teacher of the collective wisdom here. And instead of being the hard schoolmaster, like he always is, pushing forward, the retrograde kind of feels like recess, feels like summer school. Like you can take off the boundaries a little bit and really explore the lessons, review the lessons that you've been through and what you want to work with. And so the training wheels can come off here when Saturn's in retrograde. So see where your boundaries are. Are they serving you? Are they helping you? In terms of that authoritarian energy. And I think a lot of you know what I'm talking about. Okay, now Jupiter is in Taurus, soaking up that abundant joy and beauty of every single moment that is Taurus energy. Like if you're feeling sad or lonely, man, have a jug of wine with Jupiter and Taurus, okay? And all your worries will be gone. And so this feels like there is a tension because it's a square. Jupiter square is Saturn. And it could potentially get a little bit out of hand depending on how you're dealing with your Jupiter and where you're setting those boundaries as they become a little bit shaky. So there might be some limiting circumstances that keep Jupiter from expanding. That idealism of Jupiter, expand into the infinite, but Saturn's like, no, dog, that's not going to work. You can't do that here. It could potentially create a breakdown of financial hardship, a limitation in spending. So watch what you're spending here this last week of July with this Saturn squaring onto Jupiter and Saturn squaring. You could potentially have your beliefs, your practical beliefs about something change here as well. This might feel like a withdrawal phase after like when you do something fun. So for example, let's say I just got back from like a 2-week vacation in my favorite vacation spot. Everything I ever wanted was handed to me, and then I have to come back here and go to work. So it's kind of like the withdrawal from that amazing, intense, fun energy, and then you have to go back to reality. And that's what a Jupiter square Saturn might feel like too. So a little bit of realism coming back to the forefront. So be patient with yourself here. Be loving with yourself. That's what that Venus trine Chiron is saying to us. Trust that both of these luminaries, both Saturn and Jupiter, and Saturn too, particularly Saturn, want you to be more responsible and to be more positive. So try to find some contentment through the turmoil. That's my best advice for these next few weeks and months. And that will ultimately advance your evolution. The other thing that you can do with Chiron and Venus, which, it's a powerful feminine healer energy. They're both Chiron's in water and water sign Pisces, and Venus is in the fire sign of Leo. So you can work with some of the elements with that. Harnessing the power of the Kundalini, experiencing that death and resurrection while holding the flame of spirit. There could be a potential here for deep wounding. Like it could be very, very easy if you're not tapped into your emotional intelligence. So you might start hearing those egoic voices of Chiron charming in, saying, you're not good enough, you're not smart enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not sexy enough. Just ignore all of that. That's not true. Any voices like that or any messages coming through like that, they're not yours. That's not your divine plan. That's not the intention of spirit for you. So if you're hearing them and they're very loud, ask your ego to kindly stop and have a seat so that Pluto and Chiron can do their work on you and transform you. Okay. So another key word for Chiron and Venus in a nice aspect like this is sexual healing. Okay, guys. Here's where it's going to get a little bit hard. You know what? It's always hard during my birthday. I always love my birthday because people are really nice to me and they buy me stuff, but like energetically, it's always a tough time for me. I don't know why. I mean, I do know why. If I look at my chart, I can tell you that. But what's coming is going to be tough for all of us. Okay. I am going to pop out of here and show you a chart. We're going to look at this first weekend of August really quickly here, just so I can show you what we're dealing with and how long these energies last. So let's go back a few days. What I'm referring to is this T-square between this Lilith Uranus, and Venus. Okay. So this will happen this weekend of my birthday, unfortunately. So let's look into what this T-square might mean for us. I'm going to draw it out for you. So you've got Lilith in Libra, Venus in Leo, Uranus in Taurus, all direct here. So I want you to take this first week of these transits and really enjoy those juicy, healing, and abundant vibes, because things are going to get tough after this week. This is the opposition. Let me deal with that first with Lilith and Uranus is, what do I need versus what's fair for others and what's fair for the individual? What brings me value versus what is my instinctual harmony, and how do I harmonize that with the collective? So you've got these, Uranus is the one of my friends calls him the crazy Uncle Dave, but it's innovative energy, it's erratic energy, it's in Taurus, so that means that things that you have, the stuff around you, the things that your values, all that can change in an instant. It can change so quickly, and it's a metamorphosis. It changes into something else, so that you are on your highest path of individuality. That's what Uranus wants for you. He's the light, guiding light of individuality, and it's a lonely path because there's really nobody else like you. So you can't compare yourself with anybody when it comes to Uranus energy. And Lilith is that instinctual, divine feminine, obsessive energy. So there's this obsessive need for harmony right now, along with which requires collective energy. And then there's this metamorphosizing our values and the things that we have, and just erratic changes going. So we're balancing that. How do we have harmony with all this erratic energy going on? And now Venus is in attention with that. So this is an opportunity. I mean, this is how I'm going to read this, because when you have Uranus square to Venus, do something different. You can't go wrong if you try something different, even if it's small. So you take your pattern, your daily morning routine. Let's say you do the same thing every morning when you wake up. Tomorrow morning, try something just a little bit different, because there you're using your creativity and your imagination, both of the things which Uranus absolutely loves. Venus loves to create. So you might decide, okay, instead of having my coffee at the kitchen table, I'm going to go outside and sit by a tree. Or instead of brushing my teeth first and taking a shower, I'm going to take a shower the night before so that I have time to do something else in the morning. Just change something up a little bit. I mean, you could do drastic changes too here. I'm not suggesting you do that. But if you do little changes to your routine, try to do that in every moment of your day if you can. Even when you get to work, your normal work routine, when you get to work, do something a little bit different, instead of first opening up your computer and looking at all your emails. First, just go in and say hello to everybody. And then if you can take your computer outside or take your computer to a different room, just do that. Just change something. And that will really help you deal with this tension, because what will happen is if we don't, right, you're going to feel a little bit lost in like, how am I contributing to the harmony around me right now? Am I contributing, or am I just going with this crazy erratic flow and reacting to every next little thing that happens? Whereas if you are changing the pattern a little bit, doing something unexpected, then you find more synchronicity and more flow. Okay, so that might be how I will deal with this T-square that's coming up. All right, let's go back to our calendar, because the next transit's nice and can also help us. Oops. Oops. Hold on. Zoom messes up everything in your deal. Okay. During this T-square, which will last approximately from 28th of July to the 6th of August, Venus is going to pick up her conjunction with Mercury, and Mercury will go retrograde about 3 days into it. So you get a longer Venus conjunct Mercury. It'll go all the way until the 11th of August. So from the 1st of August until the 11th of August, we have Venus conjunct Mercury, which will go retrograde about 3 days in. Now, it's a longer transit because Mercury is stationing, and when a planet stations, its contacts will last a little bit longer. Slows down, stops, and then goes retrograde. And I love talking about these two together, Venus and Mercury. You know, we've talked about how planets attain their enlightenment and their wisdom, and Mercury attains enlightenment through the exchange of knowledge, giving and receiving knowledge, gathering wisdom. And I often use an apple as the example. So, like, you'll take this golden delicious apple, and Mercury will know the color code for it, will know the weight of the apple, will know how much it costs, will know the DNA, the binomial nomenclature, everything from the stem to the seed will have a complete full analysis of this apple. Whereas Venus doesn't need to know the name of the apple. She just experiences the apple, like observes the color, smells the aromas, tastes the flavor, feels the crunch, the weight of the apple, just has a physical knowledge of this apple, but doesn't need to know the name. And then when the two of these get together, it's like this just profound right and left brain hemisphere, this wisdom that's working together, this guitarist surgeon or piano playing rocket scientist, like someone with the artistic and creative energy, as well as the analytical and categorical knowledge sharing wisdom of Mercury. So, yeah, this is just a nice transit. This lasts for a long time. You get about 11 days of this combination. So, you're going to be brilliant. Okay, if you're tapping into your Mercury and your Venus energy. Now, Mercury's going retrograde, right, through this transit. So check out my Mercury videos, take my Mercury seminar so you guys can learn how to consciously work with Mercury cycles. It's an amazing energy. It can be tough if you're not if you're trying to focus too much externally. If you focus internally on the messages that you're getting, it's a much more synchronous and easier to manifest time. If you're constantly worried about things and scatterbrained all over the place, losing your keys, you're gonna mess up. So it's a good time not to really sign the dotted line on anything with Mercury going retrograde. That'll happen until the 28th of August. So it's a good about 3.5, 4 weeks of Mercury retrograde during August. All right, let's talk about this YOD that I showed you in the chart. Here we go. I'm trying to do that again. I'm trying to bring this chart to the forefront. Ugh. Okay. Oh, here we go. Okay. So you guys can probably already see it. Yeah, there it is. We'll go back one day because that's the strongest. So what is a yod? A yod is two quincunxes and a sextile, and it forms a finger. Basically, they call it the finger of God or the finger of fate. And when you do that, it's a good aspect to pay attention to, especially when you have two heavy hitters like this. So the gift is the sextile, and that is Pluto and Neptune basically surrendering to the metamorphosis, expanding and allowing the transformation to take place. And how do you, and then the subtle tension or the challenge to overcome is integrating this Plutonian energy with this Mercury Venus energy and this Neptunian energy with this Mercury Venus energy. So this is allowing both sides of the brain, the logical and the creative, to help you express this metamorphosis that you're surrendering to. Okay, so this is a very, very powerful weekend. This is a very powerful weekend for just kind of letting those creative juices flow, letting the divine inspiration from spirit come through, and allowing that metamorphosis to take place. It's really, really incredibly powerful. So that's that weekend. Let's go back to our calendar and see where we are. That's a busy, busy weekend. Oh my goodness. There we go. So the second, third, and the fourth is this yod that I'm referring to, okay? In the middle of this T-square with Uranus and Lilith, while Mercury and Venus are conjunct. Okay, that's enough, right? Do you want me to stop? Do you want me to stop this video and do a part two? Oh, let's move on to my birthday, the big 5-0 right here. The biggest significant thing about this day, besides the yod, the Mercury retrograde, and the T-square with Lilith and Uranus, is also our new moon. So we're going to have a Cancer new moon. So the sun and the moon are conjunct on my birthday during this. And I will do a separate video on this. This should be a very fun video for me to do because it'll be my solar return as well. So it's a new cycle. It's a new chance to set intentions for the coming energy. We have some more intensity coming the week after my birthday. So we'll get into that to get an idea of what sort of intentions we want to set for this new moon cycle. All right. The very next day, August 5th, Pluto is going to go retrograde. Pluto's already retrograde, but will be retrograde and moving into the stars of Sagittarius if we're using the midpoint boundaries. So once again, revisiting the transformation of our spiritual beliefs, of what we believe to be true, the ultimate truth, the ultimate wisdom. And it will be truly authentic with Pluto returning back into that. Pluto's recent 15-year transit through Sagittarius has changed and transformed all of our beliefs. What do we believe in? Who do we trust? What do we place our higher power in? And so we're going to review that for one last time as Pluto goes into Sagittarius. What do you really believe? Because it's important as Pluto goes back direct and then back into Capricorn this coming year, Pluto's going to change our structures, and it's going to be based on those authentic beliefs we've already developed. All right, now the sun will actually move into Leo on the 7th of August. The reason I thought I was a Leo my entire life was because the 4th of August is Leo in tropical, but the sun is actually in the constellation of Cancer. So here is when Leo actually starts on the 7th of August. So I miss that. I'm a cuspy Cancer with a little bit of Leo expression. So Sun in Leo is going to help to highlight that expressive energy that Venus is doing. So they're still in the same constellation together. I'm thinking that by the week after this, we will actually be able to see Venus on the western horizon as the sun is setting. They will both be in Leo, but they will be far enough apart that we can see her. So I am hoping that that's my birthday wish, to be able to see the goddess as the evening star. A couple days later, on Friday the 9th, is one of the pre-eclipse points for the October Saros Cycle 144 eclipse. That eclipse we won't see here in the United States. Saros Cycle 144. So it'll be 10-2. So when the moon passes over that 17 degrees of Virgo in constellation, that is a moment for us to say, okay, what are the energies I'm feeling today? It's a little bit of a preview of what's coming for that October eclipse. So that's the 9th. The last one we had was on July 12th, Friday, July 12th, really late in the evening. And then the very next day on the 13th, we had an attempted assassination on our former president. So I don't know. It could be that, because the next one after that is going to be September 5th. And then October 2nd is the eclipse. So we have this eclipse point and then one more to get an idea of what we need to be ready for. Okay, so just a heads up, really doesn't have anything to do with Venus, but just in the general energies, y'all want to keep your eyes on that. And then, wow, guys, look at this. So after this eclipse point, Venus is pretty unaspected. Okay, so she's got a couple days where she is without any significant aspects. If you aspect asteroids and other things, you're going to have aspects to everything. So she may have some aspects to the asteroids, but the major planets that we're looking at, there's no aspects for 2 days. Mercury is still retrograde, and Jupiter and Mars are perfecting their conjunction. Okay, so you've got Jupiter and Mars getting together and getting on here. So that will flavor the next T-square, which is happening between the 14th of August and all the way until about the 24th. Jupiter will be involved, and then until the 31st, it will be just Venus and Mars in a square. The opposition happens between Venus and Saturn. So Venus is opposing Saturn retrograde for this time frame too. So basically from the 14th to the 24th, we have another T-square. Okay, so that is important. Let's look at that in the chart. Let me erase that. You guys will want to watch this video again, probably after a couple of weeks, after you get through that first T-square, after the full moon and new moon, and then watch this video again. So let's see, let's find that T-square. It's going to be starting around the 14th, so we'll get into it a little bit. Okay, yeah, you can see it plain as day right here. Here's Venus opposing Saturn in a T-square with Saturn, or with Jupiter and Mars. All right, so we have Saturn in Aquarius, we have Jupiter and Mars conjunct in Taurus, and then we have Venus in Leo. So let's look at the calendar and see how long this energy is going to be with us. Oh, this thing. If I don't close that, it doesn't go away. There we go. Okay. All right. So Venus opposing Saturn. Remember, this is a retrograde Saturn. So some of the constraints on your creative energy, some of the boundaries on your creative energy are now being reassessed. You're now saying, can I do this? Can I not do this? Should I do this? Should I not do this? There's a balance here. What's responsible and what's truly the creative manifestation of this Venus in Leo? What is the right way to do this? Now, depending on what houses these two luminaries fall for you is going to be exactly where this question is. So, Venus being in Leo right now, this is my 4th house. So this is 4th and 10th house. So there's a reworking of my boundaries in my public space, in my work, so that I can use the creative expression potential of Leo for my Venus energy. So it's work and home. I have to balance those two. I'm in the middle of it. I'm doing that right now. And so hopefully the work that I'm doing now will help me to make even better practical measures and constructive use of this T-square. That's the goal here. That's what I'm trying to help you guys with, so that when you're up against this energy, you can do this. Now, to have Mars and Jupiter together, this is expansive sexual energy and activity. Okay, Mars just wants to act. He wants to dominate. He wants to just have a good time and soak it all in. Okay, and these two, Mars and Jupiter, are squaring onto both Saturn and to Venus. And so when you have these two squaring onto Saturn, remember we talked about Saturn squaring Jupiter up here, what that feels like. Now you add Mars to the mix, to that square, and there's more of a drive. There could be more anger energy as well. There could be more frustration associated with it as Mars moves into the conjunction with Jupiter and square to Venus and Saturn. So watch for that Mars frustration, that fight or fornicate energy. Find an outlet to let that out. That's very, very important. So wherever your Mars is, whatever elemental energy it's with, so like if it's in Pisces and it's water, water is your outlet. My Mars is in Leo, so fire is my outlet. So I'm having a Mars square Mars right now, on top of, squaring onto opposing Saturn. So, and then at the same time, yeah, so that conjunction between the two of those guys will perfect on the day that Venus picks up the T-square and opposes with Saturn. In the middle of this T-square is another full moon. Okay, so that last full moon that we had, this full moon, let's see where that's actually happening. I want to say it's in Capricorn, but let's just double check. Yeah, it looks like Capricorn. Well, actually, it'll probably be in Aquarius. Yeah, no, we're not actually getting a full Capricorn moon this year because Capricorn is small and the full moon on the 21st was in the last degree of Sagittarius. So the full moon cycle is skipping Capricorn altogether. So this is an Aquarius full moon. This is great. Aquarian energy can be really, really lovely. Oh, look, I did it again, you guys. There we go. Oh my gosh. So full moon in Aquarius, and at the same time, Mercury and Sun are going to perfect their inferior conjunction. So that is the height of the Mercury retrograde cycle when the Sun is conjunct with Mercury, and Mercury is between Sun and the Earth. So just to belabor that point, we'll go into the solar system again. And this inferior conjunction, you can see it right here from Earth's perspective. So Mercury is in between Earth and Sun. That is the inferior conjunction during Mercury retrograde. So that's what will be happening there. And that's a very powerful moment. And it's also during the full moon. So watch the emotions. It's so important to have that physical outlet with that Martian energy squaring onto both Venus and Saturn. You absolutely need that because there's going to be frustrations. But there can also be a strong will here to get things done. So there might be a lot of work here that needs to happen. Might be a lot of issues, tensions in the workplace, that kind of thing. Okay, so definitely watch that full moon on the 19th. Then that T-square wears off. The conjunction between Jupiter and Mars wears off. The conjunction between Sun and Mercury wears off. And then Venus enters into Virgo. And there's a whole set of new energies that will be coming for us. And I think the first two transits of the Venus through Virgo is going to be an opposition to Neptune and a trine with Uranus. So totally new, totally different energies. This is just crazy. All right, you guys. So yeah, I don't even have a title for this talk because this is literally just tensions and T-squares and a little bit of, how do we use this constructively? So I don't know that Leo's going to be that easy for a lot of us, especially if we've got strong emotional attachments, if we have any doubt into our self-worth and how important and how amazing and how creative and wonderful we are. Like if we have any doubt as to the potential of that, we're going to get tripped up a little bit. And especially with everything else that's going on in the media and politics in our world. So if you guys need any help, if you need a reading, the links are there. You know where to go. If you have just a single question, you want to email me, you can do that too. I'm not an inapproachable person. Please join the Fellowship of 13 Signs. We have a Facebook group over there where I post almost every day. Downbird posts the dailies. Check out the Astrology of the Assassin too. That was super interesting. That the person that allegedly committed the attempted assassination has a Mars Uranus conjunction in their own chart. So you guys should check that out. It's pretty cool. I don't think YouTube will give it to you, but you got to kind of look in my past videos and check it out. Oh, and then this week we are going to go live because we have so much to review, and I want you guys to have an opportunity to ask me questions and interact with me through this tough energy. So that will probably be Wednesday. Yeah, Wednesday the 24th. So a couple days after this video comes out, I'll be live. You guys can join me and we can chat about stuff. So yeah, like the video if you love it, please. Subscribe if you're lurking. And until Wednesday, namaste, my friends. I love you.